Welcoming Chris Canty.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
Chris, how's it going?
Oh, it's a good day, Jenna.
Yeah?
Another Yankees-Red Sox brawl.
Oh, my. There were two of them last night in that game. Well,
Yeah,
sort of. But yeah, that was...
Sort of two of them.
At least that we know that the friction is still brewing and there's still going to be tension.
We got coaches getting in on it, getting ejected.
Hand Red Sox that loss.
Best part about it is we got to win.
Exactly. I like sharing this Yankee fan base.
We got to sneak a little bit of it in there.
Speaking of the Red Sox in Boston and New England and all of it, there are two kinds of Patriots fans in this world, Chris Canty. Those that think the team needs a backup plan for Tom Brady and those who think he'll play forever. So don't worry about drafting another quarterback anytime soon. Well, it seems as though the Patriots themselves, they're the former. They are reportedly the team most interested in former Louisville quarterback Lamar Jackson. That could work if the former Heisman winner is still sitting near the bottom of the first round. The Pats pick at 23 and 31. Chris Canty, would Lamar Jackson be a good fit in New England?
Well, first of all, I'm going to start by saying this. I think it's funny that people believe that Bill Belichick's draft plan is going to get out there about 2 weeks out from when the NFL draft is going to take place.
That's right.
Sounds absolutely ridiculous. This is somebody we know values information, being able to protect the information in their plans, and being able to acquire as much as possible. So the fact that this Lamar Jackson story is getting out there now just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me if they're actually interested in the player. But if we're going to play the game, I think Lamar Jackson, wherever team drafts him, has a skill set that can be successful in the NFL. It's just a matter of the organization's commitment. They're going to have to change or tweak their offensive system to fit his strengths. And that's just what it is. Comparable to what Billy O did down in Houston with Deshaun Watson. It's going to have to look like that, at least until he can evolve to the point where he can consistently win from the pocket.
Right now, what does that look like? To people that watch NFL games, what's the difference? What did Bill O'Brien do in Houston for Deshaun Watson last year that you feel would be the copycat and the carryover to how an offense would fit Lamar?
Well, it's just integrating spread concepts from the college game into the pro game. So a lot of read zone, being able to get him out on the perimeter where he has some run-pass options built into the offense. That's what it would look like. Just allowing an
lot of play action.
Just allowing an
throw the ball
athlete to
deep
be
down
in
the
space.
field.
Exactly. That's exactly what you're doing. Trying to stress the defense in more ways than one. Whereas when you have to drop back, 20 or 30 times and just play from the pocket, that's going 1 read, 2 read, 3 read, being able to scan across the field, going through your progressions. That's something that takes a little bit of time from the quarterback position to be able to develop.
And what you're describing is not a bad thing. I think there was not that long ago, I think around the time, say, when Vince Young came into the league, certainly when Mike Vick was coming into the league, there was the idea that building an offense around a mobile quarterback skill set is not only admitting defeat to a degree, but it's a foolish endeavor. Like that, there is no reason to do that. It's one of the reasons we saw these guys try to square peg round hole. I think Deshaun Watson's a great example of a Bill O'Brien totally different offense than what he was ever running in Houston, no matter whom his quarterback was, to, listen, we are going to remake something on the fly because we have a special talented quarterback and we want to utilize his skill sets the best. I think if you try to square peg round hole Lamar Jackson, if you remove the mobility from his game, he's not worth a first or a second round pick. Like, just purely as a thrower, the inaccuracy issues are real. Like so I understand. So if you're saying we're not going to let him run at all, we're going to ask him to run the Tom Brady offense exactly, then he's a 5th or 6th round pick. So wherever he goes, you would hope that they tailor an offense to him. Go ahead. I'll let you go ahead. I have a question for you as well. Go ahead.
I don't like these reports and stuff about the players before the draft because I realize that how many things very deceiving, how many things are said just to tear down a player so another team potentially, like, there's so much bad information about the NFL that comes out between the last bowl game and when we actually have the draft. So you have to be careful in hearing these reports. But let's just say, I'm just going to entertain the people. Let's just say it's true. It would send a signal to me that New England has embraced Josh McDaniels and given him more say in the organization. Because I'm going to take you back to who drafted Tim Tebow. All right? Josh McDaniels in Denver drafted Tim Tebow with a first-round pick. Now, I don't think this report is true, but if I was to try to play along, it would be like, wow, New England has given Josh McDaniel the potential to maybe take the heir apparent to Brady, and this is the type of quarterback that he would want because Bill Belichick has never had a quarterback like him, and Bill Belichick has never drafted a quarterback in the first round.
Well, the Belichick part is the thing I wanted to ask you about, because you've talked about the success Bill Belichick has had at attacking mobile quarterbacks. The reason that he does not believe that is a sustainable model for success. And so, like, for both you guys, like, expanding on what Belichick does against quarterbacks similar to Lamar Jackson, and why it's one of the reasons, aside from New England being a secret organization, why this report struck you as odd is Belichick's never been interested in this type of quarterback.
No, because the overall physicality that Bill likes to play with the front, they're going to hit the quarterback as much as possible. Like, he was never, ever worried about the Tim Tebow and that taking off. And people wonder, well, he brought Tebow in. Like, I believe that was more of a favor to Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer's his guy. All right, Tim Tebow was basically on his way, getting ready to be out the league. He decided to bring him in as a 3-4 to training camp. I never thought. But in hearing the Lamar Jackson rumors, it just takes me to Josh and what Josh would like to repair on his career. He did some things there in Denver, and drafting Tim Tebow, I don't believe really helped him in his moving up to be a head coach in the NFL.
Well, there are always going to be those questions about Josh McDaniels. Can he have success independent of Bill Belichick? You won't get away from that until he becomes a head coach again. And we're presuming that's going to be New England. Why else would he turn down the coach job? But when you start talking about Bill Belichick being open to the idea of taking a quarterback that's mobile, I guess I'm on the fence about that. I could see that being a possibility just because the way the college game is played now. All of these quarterbacks are going to have a steep learning curve. They're looking at the sidelines rather than looking at the defenses that they're playing pre-snap, trying to get the call, because the coaches are actually calling the plays while the quarterback is at the line of scrimmage. So no matter who you're talking about taking in the draft, every quarterback pretty much is going to have to deal with that. So why not have a quarterback that's equipped to be able to handle the gymnastics of learning the NFL game while having the athletic ability to be able to escape pressure, because the pro game on defense is all about trying to hit the quarterback. So to me, it makes a little bit of sense to go that route with a quarterback, especially where the Patriots are picking, and keeping in mind that that defense that they had in New England didn't look great last year going up against Cam Newton and Deshaun Watson early in the season. Right. So they got a great look at what it could potentially be in terms of trying to groom a young quarterback that could be the successor for Tom Brady.
Can Lamar Jackson do all those things that you just listed right there? Can he fit into the Patriots as they stand right now as all of those things?
Well, it's not going to look like it looked under Tom Brady, and I think people have to accept that. And New England's going to have to accept that at some point when they decide to transition away. Even if Jimmy Garoppolo were still there, it wouldn't look like it did with Tom Brady. So I think there's going to be an adjustment period. I just think that it's so radical in terms of a philosophical change with Lamar Jackson as your quarterback compared to what we've seen the last 2 decades under Bill Belichick.
I do believe in Bobby Petrino's quarterbacking system, and he's been very, very successful, more so than I believe in the systems that are in the Big 12. I believe in Bobby Petrino more and his fundamentals and his audible package more than the Oregon offense, the Oklahoma State offense.
Even Oklahoma, to a degree, with Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, Baker Mayfield's had 3 seasons, so Baker's on a different.
See, when's the last time we've seen a Big 12 quarterback do something in the NFL?
A Big 12 quarterback or a Big 12 DB.
Right.
When's the last
Sam
time?
Bradford, depending on what you think of Sam Bradford. But, I mean, he was drafted a decade ago. I'm just glad you brought up the Bobby Petrino thing real quick, because Bobby Petrino does not run just the most basic of offenses, right? When it comes to college football offenses, there is some complexity to it that are not with other offenses. And this guy ran it as successfully as you could en route to winning a Heisman, and arguably could have won a second Heisman. I say all that to say this.
He did what Teddy Bridgewater did, but better.
But better. And people question Lamar's intelligence. I have no reason to believe this guy's not smart. I watched him play. He played smart. He understood that offense. Now, what Lamar is, it's a fair thing. Danny Cannell said it when he was out here a month or so ago. He's not the most eloquent guy. So sometimes people make this mistake where they confuse eloquence and intelligence.
Grammar.
And grammar, speaking the King's English, as you would say, certainly if you have an accent to a degree, like especially people do this with Southern folks all the time as well. Like if you hear a Southern accent, you assume the person's not that bright. It's not fair. You've talked about you said the smartest football player, or one of the smartest football players. Non-quarterback you ever played with was who?
Randy Moss.
He wasn't the most eloquent fella in the world coming out of Marshall.
I was totally shocked. After seeing all the interviews when we drafted him, he moved to Florida, and we start going over X's and O's. Man, I tell him something, not tell him it for 2 or 3 weeks, and he remembered verbatim everything that I said. So, yes, sometimes you get trapped into the lack of being able to communicate in the way that they're familiar with intellect and IQ.
And people do the opposite as well, by the way. If you speak really well, people assume.
Oh, I know a lot of people speak well, and they're dumb as a bunch of rocks.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Moving right along.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, stick around. Canty, coming up, as Des Bryant played his last game in a Cowboys uniform. Next on First Things First.
You know, he spoke really well, Chris Canty.
Yeah.
Chris Canty.